Welcome back. The 10x Ethereum, that is what Vitalik Buterin is stating about the scaling on Ethereum in the next 1 year. And this kind of goes in line with what we've been talking about on this channel, the rotation out of Bitcoin and potentially some of the other altcoins like Solana that have been performing in this cycle, and the rotation into some of the underperformers and altcoins like Ethereum and more. Guys, there is a lot going on in crypto, and we are looking for the signals that could lead us to the bull market top. We are not looking for the exact time, the exact date, the exact event, or the exact numbers of these the prices in the market. We're looking for the indicators. And remember, these indicators all lag. So we have leading indicators and then we have lagging indicators. What we are looking for is the leading indicators, not the lagging indicators, because we want to lead the market. We want to be ahead of the narrative within the market. And so if you guys have been following my videos, you kind of understand what I'm talking about here. And if you don't, well, we're going to be discussing a lot of that in today's video. And we're really going to be talking about the rotation in crypto, how I told you this was going to happen. And what are some of the signals that we know the rotation is underway, even though mainstream may not be talking about it and we may not yet see it in the price of the coins? Remember what I always say on this channel. You have to be thinking about what is next because the markets always price things in ahead of time. This is where you hear buy the rumor, sell the news, because the rumor is pricing those things in. The news is just it happening. And so that is the dynamic that is in play here as we are entering the final stages of what I believe, or I should say just what I believe is the final stages of the bull market, whether you agree or disagree. Let's kind of go through all of the data and understand what in the Bitcoin and crypto is going on here. Don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Let's get into it. Now, I saw this the other day on X, and I completely blown away. This guy, Joe Consorti on X, who is diversify home equity into Bitcoin at Join Horizon. He's the head of growth at Bitcoin. He said on X, MicroStrategy did it with cash. You can do it with your house. Horizon lets you reallocate trapped equity into Bitcoin without monthly payments or new debt, extract the monetary premium on your home, and siphon it into Bitcoin. What in the Bitcoin is going on here? This is like a whole nother level of leverage. Now, let's just be clear. This product, from what I understand, is only for fully paid off homes. Obviously, if you have a mortgage on the home, the mortgage lender will not let you do this because this is absolutely insane. But effectively, you can, if your house is worth $500,000, basically this company will allow you to buy Bitcoin with that equity. It's basically playing on extreme leverage with your home. He said strategic leverage for Bitcoin accumulation is the play. The cost of capital to do this at an individual level via a HELOC or reverse mortgage in addition to your mortgage payment is way too much for most home buyers. He said that they removed the monthly payments, removed interest charges, and they're not even long the Bitcoin. You get the Bitcoin right away. And by the way, there are no term limits. Essentially, Horizon is a perpetual house-backed Bitcoin call option. If you're betting that Bitcoin will outrun your home over the next 5, 10, 20, or 50 years, Horizon lets you arb that bet without making any lifestyle changes. It's essentially the Bitcoin treasury strategy at an individual level. He said, near term, we get every homeowner in America to stack Bitcoin using their trapped home equity. Long term, they extract the monetary premium on real estate and siphon it into Bitcoin. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Luckily, we've been seeing the crypto ecosystem saying, don't ever do this. This is absolutely nuts. But no matter how many people you say that to, there's still going to be people who do this. Now, hopefully, these are just, very wealthy individuals who could potentially afford to lose their home because they probably have 5 other ones, right? But for the everyday person, this is very dangerous. And this is what I talk about, like, when you start to see over leverage, right? People overplaying their hand, these are usually leading indicators that we are either at or approaching the top of the market. And when you hear people saying, no, Cryptoviser, we haven't even started the bull run. Meanwhile, Bitcoin bottomed at 15,000 in this bear market and is now at $105,000, which is over 8x. And so for somebody to say, well, there's no bull run, they literally don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're lying, they're misleading you, or they just have such a small time horizon on this stuff that they just can't they just fully can't understand it. Because again, if you just go back to 2023, which was basically the macro bottom for the crypto markets, you can see here, right, in 2022 into 2023, $16,000. And so what do you mean there's been no bull run? And so now we're at the point of the bull run where they're saying, well, just take all the equity you have in your home and and pile it into Bitcoin, right? And so they're not charging fees, they're not charging interest rates. So how are they actually making money on doing this? I don't know. And honestly, I don't really care because I would not be doing this. And hopefully you probably are not either. Anyway, but this is kind of the indicator, right? And it's not just over there. We're also seeing Michael Saylor giving us more indicators that we potentially are at the top of the market or in the final stages of the bull market. And by the way, I've been getting a lot of criticism for this. I'm not saying the bull run is over. I'm saying that we are close to the end, which obviously makes sense if you believe that we are going to enter a bear market at some point. That means the further we go, the closer we are. Meaning, yeah, today we're closer to the bear market than we were yesterday, and tomorrow we'll be even closer than we were today. This is factual information, right? Now, I personally do believe that we are in the final stages, 12 to 18 months after the Bitcoin halving. We're a month, when I'm recording this, 13, 14 after the Bitcoin halving in 2024. So yes, we are approaching the end of the major bull run. And to give you another example of this over leverage, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy announced the launch of Stride, a new perpetual preferred stock offering available for institutional investors and select non-institutional investors. And so this is another debt facility that they have, right? We know that they had Stark, they had Strife, and now they have Stride. And so they're just trying, and by the way, they also have shares that they can sell in the open market called ATM, right, at the market. And so they have 4 ways to actually raise debt that the only way that I can explain this MicroStrategy play is that MicroStrategy is effectively, they're basically just trying to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible. And they don't care how they do it. They don't care how much debt they go into. And effectively, a lot of people think that they're going for a credit rating, especially on these products that are issued to create more money so that they can buy more Bitcoin. But I don't actually, I don't necessarily think that that's the goal, like the credit rating. Maybe it's part of the goal, but I think the bigger goal for MicroStrategy is that they want to become too big to fail, where they would have so much Bitcoin in their portfolio. They have so many institutional investors who are part owners in this stock, whether it's the debt offerings or whether it's the underlying shares. We know BlackRock and many of the other large funds in the U.S. are buying this. And these are proxies for the government. So the government doesn't have to say we're buying Bitcoin, but they're doing it through MicroStrategy because MicroStrategy goes belly up. Who do you think is going to bail them out? And that is where they become too big to fail. So if there's too many systemic risks, if something happens with MicroStrategy or they can't pay back their debt or something like that, you can't have the markets, right? More than one individual market. Like if one stock goes down, it goes down. But now you have a stock that's connected to Bitcoin that's owned by institutional investors and in a lot of other different type of portfolios and blended funds. And so this could wreak havoc on the markets. And I think that seems to be like, whether directly or indirectly, what the strategy is to become too big to fail from a Bitcoin perspective. And maybe the point is that they actually do want to fail. I mean, I'm going to be doing another video about the dollar. Like, personally, it seems like they are potentially going to crash the dollar on purpose. I mean, we have heard from President Trump that previously that, a weaker dollar gives more room for prices to go up, and a stronger dollar brings prices down, but it gives the U.S. a little bit more dominance. What they're doing, I don't know, but we just saw this whole situation occur with Doge and Elon leaving Doge, and then Elon saying that the Congress is going to make the US bankrupt and they're spending even more than what they cut. And so they're undoing effectively what everything Doge did. And this is true, but why would they be doing this, right? Why would potentially a majority of Congress be for that? It's either because they don't understand, they don't think that it matters, or the dollar is being decimated on purpose. And because we know that the Trump family is involved in crypto and they're going further into it, and pretty much the whole administration is a pro-crypto administration, from the crypto czar to the commerce secretary to the treasury secretary, I can keep going on. It seems to me that there's a potential, especially what we've been hearing from the Trumps, like Eric Trump and Trump Jr., who said that basically they got into crypto because they were being debanked, and that the banks, they made the worst decision by doing that, because now look at where things are moving towards. And so this is potentially like they are just like, no, screw it. Like, we have to keep printing money until we have a new currency, which is probably going to be backed or on, in a digital asset type of form. And so that's what I've been thinking about recently as well. Like, maybe they are intentionally going to crash the dollar, going to push the dollar into oblivion by just printing and printing and printing and printing. And obviously, we don't think that's a good idea, right? But at the same time, this is why we're in crypto. Because if they decimate the dollar, people in crypto, that they're not going to be as negatively affected. But I want you to keep in mind, like, a lot of people are still not invested in crypto, and the people that are invested in crypto, most have very small allocations to it. And I'm talking about very, very small. And so compared to, what they would have in their bank account, imagine your whole bank account just goes to almost zero, and your little bit of crypto saves you. Imagine those people who don't have any crypto or don't have any assets, and all of their life savings and what they're making, everything just keeps going down. And we're seeing that, right? Because now you go around the country, $15, $20 an hour for minimum wage, and it's still not enough. I mean, even in the areas where they don't have, right, the $15, $20 minimum wage, like if you look at Florida, Florida is, I don't even think they have a minimum wage, but it's probably around $10, right? From my understanding, most Florida places will pay around $10, $11, like at the minimum. Not by law, but they're just doing it. But either way, you can, let's say $11 an hour at full time. That's not enough, right? $22,000 a year. And so that's at the low end, right? And what if somebody's making $20 an hour, 2080, $41,000? That's before tax. After tax, maybe it's going to be, $35,000, depending on where you live. But again, let's say you're living in Florida, $35,000 a year at a full-time job. Like, how much is rent in Florida? Let's say, $2,000, right? Times 12 months, it's $24,000 minus 41,600. You have $17,000 before taxes left, right? And then after taxes, like we said, maybe a $6,000 in taxes. You have plus six. I think it's at 6,000. Yeah, plus 6,000. And so now you have $11,000 left for the year. That's less than $1,000 per month for everything else, right? Your gas, your car insurance, clothing, doctor's visits, whatever else you have to do, food. It's not enough. And it's going to continue to get worse. And while people, they may get raises at their job and think that, oh, wow, now I'm making more money, but you're really not, because the rate of inflation and how the money is valued is being devalued. So this is going to hurt a lot of people, and we have to keep that in mind. We're also seeing a lot of like, oh, well, we're buying Bitcoin, right? Jack Mallers 21, which is being funded and supported by SoftBank and Tether Group, which we know about, and they're going to become a Bitcoin acquisition company. But the media is pushing this up and saying, oh, well, 21 just bought 10,000 Bitcoin. 21 just bought, $100 million in Bitcoin. But they're not actually buying it. These are not actual real buys. And this goes back to, where we are in the cycle. MicroStrategy keeps buying Bitcoin, and they have continued to buy Bitcoin all this year, all last year, the year before that. The price has moved, but it's not moving that much. That's number one. The other question is, where are they getting all this Bitcoin? Where are they getting all of this liquidity? Based on what we're seeing now at 21, it seems to be Big holders are just transferring it, right? These are private sales that are going on. Tether Group is moving 10,500 Bitcoin to this address. It already happened as part of the pre-funding for the investment from SoftBank into 21 Capital. They also moved 14,000. They did a lot of movement of a lot of different Bitcoin. But I'm picking up the big ones to show you. 14,000 Bitcoin was moved as part of the investment into 21 Capital. And so they're just moving money from one wallet to another, which I guess is what a purchase is anyway. But when you're thinking about the open market, when you're thinking about the crypto market, specifically Bitcoin, the price goes up because of the supply being limited. And so if let's say I have 10,000 Bitcoin and you're creating a company that's going to be a Bitcoin strategy company like Tether is doing and like SoftBank is doing, Tether is getting a piece of the new company, 21, right? And so they're merging with Cantor Equity Partners. And I believe there was some like, let's say they had 1 million shares. Well, after the merger, maybe they're going to have 5 million shares. And Tether and all of the early investors are going to get 4 million shares. And the original shareholders of the company are only getting 1 million, right? So you're getting technically like the shares are getting inflated by 5x, which devalues you by 5x, which is a devaluation of about 80%. And so people think that this is great. Like, oh, they're buying the Bitcoin, but they're technically not buying or selling anything. They're just trading it. They're giving 21 all of this Bitcoin, and 21 is the company is giving them shares in the company, right? Now, this is different than what MicroStrategy is doing because MicroStrategy is actually using cash. At least that's what we think that they're doing. But this could be a very similar thing as well. But I want you guys to understand this because everybody's putting this as like, oh, Wall Street's buying all this Bitcoin. No, they're not buying this Bitcoin. They're moving it from Tether, and Tether, instead of holding Bitcoin directly, they're allowing 21 to have the Bitcoin, and they're getting shares in the company that's going to be holding their Bitcoin. So it's just Bitcoin being moved. It's like me putting my 401k into a trust and then saying, well, look at all the things I bought in my trust. It's like, did you buy it or you just moved it from your personal account to the trust, right? Like there's a big difference there. Because what 21 is doing with this preceded Bitcoin treasury company is by them people thinking that they're buying all this Bitcoin, billions of dollars in Bitcoin. They're not. It's just being moved from Tether into the company. And so they're enriching Tether. There's no actual supply demand changes in the market at all because these are non-open market these are non-open market transactions, if that makes sense. I'm trying to explain this the best way possible because most people don't fully get this, like what they're doing. And so, when we think about the price of crypto, price of Bitcoin specifically, this is based on supply demand metrics. And so if Tether was not providing the liquidity for this purchase from 21, imagine on the open market, 20, 30, 40,000 Bitcoin going and being purchased on the open market. There would definitely be a supply shock when the demand is increasing so much, and this is what pushes the price up. And so when I saw this happening with Tether, moving all of this Bitcoin over to 21, I wondered, maybe this is happening with Michael Saylor also, because remember, MicroStrategy will not provide proof of reserves. And so when people start to realize that they're not actually purchasing the Bitcoin, it's just being moved from one entity, Tether or Bitfinex, to another entity, 21 Capital. But the original owners still own the Bitcoin, technically, because they own shares of the company. It's very, very complex. But at the end of the day, it's just movement of the Bitcoin from one whale to another whale. And the market participants saying, well, they bought all this Bitcoin. There's so much demand for it. And there's not. There's not demand for it. They're just moving the Bitcoin from one major entity to now this new other major entity. And by the way, Tether is getting not only still having exposure to the Bitcoin, but they're also getting shares in the company, which potentially is going to move up based on the price of Bitcoin as well. Something to think about, guys. Something to think about. And Jack Mallers even said, we will be publishing multiple addresses over the next week, proving our Bitcoin reserves. And so that's what they have been doing. And so you can see right here, Jack Mallers 21 Capital and Tether buy 8,812 Bitcoin for $458 million. Did they really buy it or they just moved it? That's the question we should be asking. And most people are not. And so if we are at the top, which it seems like everything is kind of pushed, right? Put your house up and buy Bitcoin with the equity. Michael Saylor is creating all of these different products to create debt. And again, in an upward trending market, it's going to do very well. But what happens in a downtrending market? And so I think that there's a lot of over exuberance about Bitcoin, and a lot of people still saying there's been no Bitcoin bull run, even though, as I showed you, we're already up 8x. And meanwhile, some other cryptos still have not even reached their all-time record high, which brings us to the rotation being underway. Now, as I've explained to you guys for years on this channel, when we go from a bull market to a bear market or bear market to a bull market, it's not overnight, right? These things take time. And so what we need to look for is the leading indicator that we are rotating, right? Some of those things that we just talked about, rotating out of Bitcoin and Bitcoin no longer being the trade. Well, now Ethereum's Vitalik saying that they should scale by 10x over the next year. And again, what I always say is when Vitalik starts to come out talking about the crypto ecosystem, it's time to pay attention to what's happening in Ethereum. So speaking at a conference, Vitalik predicted that the crypto network behind the second biggest digital coin should improve costs and speed soon. He's saying, in general, I do think there's a lot of room to scale safely. My view is that generally we should scale layer 1 by about 10x over the next year and a bit. Now, the network has faced criticism about its speed and efficiency compared to Solana and other newer competitors. And this has caused Ethereum's ecosystem to start to change. And I think that we're starting to see some of that change coming out. What are some of the changes? Well, before we get into the numbers, I want to show you this one. This is the thing. Ethereum Foundation lays off staff and rebrands their core team. And I think a lot of what we've been seeing and hearing about Ethereum is that they're not keeping up. Right? They're not keeping up with, this is a lot of different cryptos here, guys, but this is important for you guys to understand. Number one, a lot of cryptos and crypto projects and the executives and the teams behind them are still living in the previous cycles, right? They're like, oh, well, we're gonna launch DeFi. It's like, what? You're going to launch DeFi. DeFi's already launched, and there's a lot of money on chain in DeFi. Yeah, but we're going to launch a better DeFi. It's like, come on, you don't even have DeFi. What do you mean you're going to launch a better DeFi, right? We're also seeing a lot of projects saying, oh, we're going to be the AI crypto. Meanwhile, they don't even have the capability to run more than 100 transactions per second on their chain, let alone thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, like we see happening on Solana and Internet Computer Protocol. And so a lot of what we're hearing are promises, right, that are going to take years to develop to get to the baseline. And it's also chasing narratives. And we've talked about this before as well, where they're chasing the AI narrative, they're chasing the DeFi narrative, they're chasing the president is on board narrative. They're all chasing a narrative. And when the narrative keeps shifting from one to another, that means there's no focus, right? And a lot of the newer chains, they are very pinpoint focused. They may not have the best technology, they may not even have any technology, right? But they're very good at kind of focusing on, this is what we're going to accomplish, this is how we're going to accomplish it, and then marketing that. And so if you have Ethereum, where the team basically hasn't said too much about anything besides the Pectra upgrade, which we just had, but other than that, there was no conversations really going on comparing it. Like if you look at it compared to Solana or Sui or Avalanche. And so if you're a newbie or if you're a Wall Street and you have Ethereum, which is the second largest chain, most DeFi, and nobody's explaining what they're doing, how they're going to make it better, how you can make money off of this. And Solana is, and Sui is, and Avalanche is. Who are you going to start learning more about? You're going to be learning about these chains that are pumping their own coin effectively. And so Ethereum, I think that they had to get the message from the community that they're not branding themselves properly. They're not talking about the technology. They're not trying to sell their own coin, right? For whatever reasons. And they should be, right? Like, not go buy our coin, but listen, like, this is going to be the center of decentralized finance. And you want to have at least some exposure to this in your portfolio, especially if you're thinking about the future. Yes, Aave could do well. World Liberty Finance could do well. The Trump coin could do well. Solana could do well. Great. But Ethereum is at the center of it all. And all of these other chains, they are trying to achieve what Ethereum has, but they haven't just yet, right? They just haven't. Solana is faster than Ethereum, sure, but they don't have as much DeFi. They don't have as much building, especially on layer 2s and layer 3s. We've even heard from the Solana founder, they don't think that you even need a layer 2. Well, that's not kind of spreading the risk of the network out. Even Bitcoin has a layer 2, the Lightning Network. And so this Ethereum chart, according to this guy who is an investor and crypto enthusiast, he said the Ethereum chart they don't want you to see, and he's predicting a potential $80,000 run in this cycle, showing us, well, actually, this goes through February of 2027, so about a year and a half away. And it could potentially put us into, you know, he's showing just a straight uptrend. But if you've been watching my videos, you guys kind of know that I think that we're going to uptrend into the middle of 2025, downtrend into the middle of 2026, and then potentially reversal again. But it's something to keep in mind. Like, I do think that we're seeing a rotation underway. He also said the sometimes offline ledger, also known as Solana Sol, right, lost about $2 billion in stable coins in June. It says this month, so May. They went to Ethereum. And this is something that I've been talking to you guys about. Like, we've been seeing a lot of issuance of Tether and USDC more recently. And a lot of people are saying, oh, they're buying, you know, people are buying, they're putting the money in to put it on the sidelines. And I'm like, no, guys. Like, this is not new money coming in. The same way that we were just talking about 21 isn't technically buying the Bitcoin. They're just transferring it from one entity to another. But the first entity still owns the Bitcoin, even though the second entity technically is the owner because they're in the new company. Same thing is going on here with Ethereum. Because at the end of the day, guys, we have seen a massive drop in the valuation of Solana. From a market cap perspective, right? A $20 billion, $30, $40 billion. I mean, it basically is in half. So maybe $80 billion or $70 billion, whatever. It was a high number. The money didn't just disappear, guys. It didn't disappear. So when you see the price of coins going down like Solana, and then you see the price or the market cap of stable coins increasing, if you use common sense, you can kind of figure out, well, Solana's coming down by $80 billion and Tether's going up by 20 billion and Circle's going up by 10 billion. Yeah, they're probably rotating out of Solana and into stable coins. And then what do? They go and buy other coins that they believe are undervalued. They're not putting on the sideline and saying, let's wait for Solana to dip and then let's buy the dip. No, guys, the trade on Solana is done. It's over. The meme coin season, that was 6 months ago, and there's still people holding on like, no, Solana, everyone loves meme coins. It's like nobody loved PP Coin, and PP Coin wasn't even on Solana. And so for you to think that somebody's going to like a Haktua coin, like Haktua coin is going to change the world? How? Don't answer that. Anyway, so you guys kind of get the point. Stablecoin value has moved out of Solana, which has pumped. And where do you think it's going? In my view, based on what we're seeing on the network, it's moving into Ethereum. We are also hearing now Mike Novogratz stating that Galaxy Digital, which I think just filed an IPO, but that's for another day, they're working with the SEC to tokenize on Ethereum. Meanwhile, they're also building one of the largest AI data centers in North America, partnered with CoreWeave. Let's listen to what Mike Novogratz said, because again, a lot of people are living in the previous cycle. They're going to say, well, Mike Novogratz shilled Terra Luna. It's like, who gives a shit? Like, if they get the SEC to approve tokenization of stocks, tokenization of real world assets, where do you think that's going? It's going on Ethereum. Period. End of story. Ethereum and the layer 2s. And so everything built within that ecosystem is going to do well. everything. And we're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. Let's listen to what Mike Novogratz says here. And by the way, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Let's listen in.
My question to you, Mike, is when are you going to tokenize Galaxy assets on Ethereum?
As soon as we can. We are working with the SEC right now, to be fair, potentially tokenizing Galaxy stock in the near future. And so I think that's going to be the excitement of the second half of the year.
More on Galaxy. You guys are doing some cool things with kind of the convergence between crypto and AI. You guys purchased a Bitcoin mining facility in Texas as a 160-acre Helios facility in December 2022. And now, Mike, it looks like Galaxy is sort of rigging this to actually serve the AI industry and setting it up for kind of an AI cloud. I'm curious what your plans are with that. And you see more of this in the future of sort of Bitcoin mining facilities becoming AI.
You can think of Galaxy as a holding company with two separate businesses that are linked. One is our crypto business, which we've talked about. The other is a data center business. We already have a lease sign and an option on a similar lease that will bring in $14 billion of rent over the next 15 years.
So it's $1 billion in rent a year. Notice how they're wording it: $15 billion in rent. No, it's $1 billion in rent a year. If it's $14 billion over the course of 15 years. Anyway, this is a lot of pie in the sky stuff. But the point is, the rotation is underway, and we're now starting to see the Ethereum ecosystem marketing their own network, right? It was something that they haven't done before, right? This whole view of like, oh, well, crypto, we're not here to make money. Like, guys, that's BS, right? We are creating a new digital economy. Everybody who's involved in crypto, whether you buy crypto, transact in crypto, pay people in crypto, utilize crypto, invest in crypto, it doesn't matter. That's a new digital economy. And the new digital economy, like, yes, we want the value of everything to go up, because in the current fiat system, the value of everything around you is going up because the value of the dollar is going down. And like I said earlier in the video, there is a potential that they are accelerating this on purpose so that we can transition into more of the digital world. And obviously stablecoin is going to be a major key to this. And I don't know fully why they... Here's my concern about the stablecoin situation if the dollar becomes more just fully digitized, is everything on chain is visible, right? So we can see the market cap, we can see the printing of money, we know when it's going on. And they're not going to be able to do that in the future as much. And I think this is where we're going to have some kind of currency that is going to be pegged to something. Whether it's a basket of different cryptocurrencies or different currencies around the world. I would imagine it's probably going to have gold, Bitcoin, and maybe some other things in it as well to back the dollar, because the acceleration of the destruction of the dollar has really accelerated after the dollar was taken off the gold standard, because it allowed them to print backed by nothing. And do we even have the gold? That's a whole nother story, because they were going to go audit. Remember, they were going to go to the Federal Reserve and actually look at all the gold, and they didn't do that. Why? Probably because I don't know. Why did they take us off the gold standard? Maybe they needed the gold. Something to think about, guys. It's really something to think about. And the Venmo of crypto is not coming. It's already here on Polygon, which is on Ethereum. Polygon is the home of on-chain micropayments. And again, they're testing this. It's almost like Litecoin and Bitcoin, right? Historically, Litecoin has tested every new feature before it goes onto Bitcoin, because the networks are almost identical in the way that they process transactions and interact. Polygon and Ethereum are in a very similar sense. And this is why I talk about Polygon as layer 2. It's the premier layer 2. It has the most microtransactions, the most USDC transactions. I mean, it is becoming really big, and we've been covering this for weeks now. But Polygon is the home of on-chain micropayments. In May of 2025, USDC micropayments surged 5.7%. These are transactions between 50 cents and $100. 41.5% market share, more than Solana, Ethereum, or Base. The Venmo of crypto is live on Polygon. Something to think about there. And by the way, this guy, Lutz, who's the CEO of Aragon Project, he said for over 3 years, we've been paying our employees on Polygon fast, cheap, and reliable. And so Ethereum has been quietly building over the last few years. Layer 1, the layer 2, the interconnectivity between different blockchains. And now we're starting to see them market this and talk about it and really showcase what Ethereum is about and what Ethereum has accomplished and can accomplish and do for you. And no other chain has this kind of data. No other chain has this type of metrics and the usage that we're seeing, right? People say Solana this, Solana that, Solana this, Solana that. The billionaires own Solana and they've been selling it to Solana. What technology, what has been created in Solana over the last few years? Meme coins. And a meme coin casino is on Solana and only on Solana. Because the other ecosystems, nobody went to Ethereum to build the Haktua coin or other celebrity coins that were basically all rug pulls. They all went to Solana. Solana is the meme coin, shitcoin platform of the cycle. People say, but Cryptoviser, you're just angry that you didn't buy Solana and you were wrong about the price of Solana. And I've said many times that Solana has outperformed the rest of the market. I don't regret not holding it because I don't want to hold this coin that is not doing anything positive in the world, right? And by the way, it's not just me saying this. Ethereum leads with $286 million in weekly crypto inflows in the strongest run since 2024. And again, this just happened in the end of May. Crypto investment products added almost $300 million worth of net inflows for the 7th consecutive week in a row, boosted by Ethereum's best run since 2024. Meanwhile, the usually dominant global Bitcoin-based funds experience net outflows, right? The Bitcoin ETFs, because who controls the market right now? The Wall Street. Wall Street controls what happens to the Ethereum price and the Bitcoin price because they have the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs. Think about all the other coins that ran. They don't have these ETFs. And so all this excitement about XRP ETF, Solana ETF, Cardano ETF, Dogecoin ETF, guys, the day they launch, because they're going to approve it, and then there will be a launch date. The day it launches, I will not be in those coins. I will not be in those coins. Because historically, and we've covered this, historically, when options or futures or other non-direct products launch, derivatives that are used to manipulate the price of the underlying asset, when these derivatives are being purchased and traded and sold, it's not a good thing. And historically, every single time the SEC has approved and then launched Bitcoin ETFs, or Bitcoin futures, I should say, when the Bitcoin futures launched, that was the last day of the bull run in 2017 and in 2021. Go look it up. So this is not a bullish thing, but it could be very bullish for Ethereum. Because if these other assets like Solana do start draining as Wall Street money comes in, because I want you guys to remember, this is not going to be the same as just moving Bitcoin from Tether into 21. It's not going to be that. This is going to be probably actual buying of the coins. But who are they going to be buying the Solana from? Who is Wall Street going to be buying the Solana from? It's not going to be people like you and I who own, probably very small portions of it if we own it at all. It's going to be the billionaires who were seed investors at 25 cents or 50 cents, and now we're at $156. And maybe it'll pump on the initial news of an ETF. But then those billionaires, they're going to be selling. They're going to be selling into that exit liquidity. That is the exit liquidity. That is the exit liquidity. I've been hearing a lot of people saying, but Cryptoviser retail hasn't even joined the party. And I'm like, wait a minute. We have Wall Street buying thousands and thousands and thousands of Bitcoin collectively every month. And you think that little old peasant myself, and I don't want to call you a peasant, but you guys kind of get the point, right? Non-billionaire, you and I, you think that we're going to move the market more than Wall Street is going to move the market? This is utter and complete BS. It really is. It really, really is. And so this is the idea behind Bitcoin potentially being at the top, is people are like, no, Cryptoviser, it's not at the top. Like, look at all the buying that's going on. It's like, are they really buying it? Number one, the answer is no. They're just moving coins from one wallet to another. But second of all, people are holding on to this hope. Well, retail hasn't even joined the party. Once retail comes, we're going to go to $500,000 overnight. And I'm like, wait. So Wall Street has been buying literally hundreds of billions of dollars in Bitcoin because the Bitcoin ETFs have about $130 billion in it. MicroStrategy has 70 bill. Where am I looking? 580. They have $60 billion, right? The ETFs have, so basically the ETFs and MicroStrategy collectively have about 200,000 Bitcoin that they've acquired over the last, generally speaking, the last couple of years, right? 2-3 years. And the price has gone up 8x in that time frame. And you think that retail coming in buying $10 a Bitcoin a week or $50 a Bitcoin a month, you think that you and I are going to move the market to $500,000 when Wall Street couldn't do it? Guys, like, let's be for real. That's not going to happen. And so retail, I don't even think is I don't even think it makes a difference whether retail enters the game or doesn't enter the game. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, last cycle was different. And so everybody's trying to compare, well, in 2021, this happened. In 2021, that happened. It's like, okay, what does that mean today? Wall Street is buying billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. You know, the majority of people in the world are not billionaires. They're not millionaires. Most people are paycheck to paycheck. In many areas of the world, you don't have that much, disposable income to just be throwing in Bitcoin. So if they did start, they're not going to be throwing all of it in. It's going to be a portion of a portion of a portion of their portfolio. And so they're still, like, I'm talking about billionaires that think this, and influencers who've been in the crypto space for many, many years. They're saying, oh no, retail has not even joined the party yet. Once retail comes in, we're going to 500,000. I'm like, no, guys. This cycle is about Wall Street. Next cycle, 2028, I think it's going to be about governments, because it's going to keep getting bigger until it's a reserve currency, until it's backing currencies that are fiat and central bank issued notes. That's what's going to be. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. So retail, guys, we're not even a part of this party anymore. It is Wall Street is buying. Then it's going to be implementation of these assets into in retirement funds and retirement type of products. We'll probably see Bitcoin ETFs getting put into retirement funds and 401ks and stuff like that. But we're many years off from that. But imagine 2028, right? If Bitcoin's a $10 trillion asset, people are going to be, once retail comes in, we're going to be going up to $30 trillion. It's like, you think that you and I are going to pump Bitcoin to $30 trillion? No, that's going to be banks and governments and institutional funds and all of that. And so you have to remember, there are some definite same things and trends that we see from previous cycles occurring. But we can't take the last cycle and say, oh, everything's going to happen exactly as it is this cycle. Hopefully that makes sense. And so this kind of goes into the Ethereum rebrand, right? And so Ethereum is changing a lot of organizational changes. And they posted this on their website the other day called Announcing Protocol. Ethereum stands at the edge of major breakthroughs. ZK EVMs have rapidly accelerated, enabling us to re-architect layer 1 to simultaneously support scale, verifiability, security, and censorship resistance. Layer 2s are hardening, meeting users where they are and eager to double down on using Ethereum as their root of trust. In short, the world is ready for the world's computer. Well, if they're ready for the world computer, that's, what do we know? The internet computer. So Ethereum is trying to rebrand to the internet computer. It's kind of odd, but either way, these significant innovations both unlock massive benefits for the users, and these stakes are high. The moment may be Ethereum's best shot at deploying not only the technology, but the values at planetary scale. As a response, they said, we must rethink our current approach to designing, developing, and stewarding the protocol. This process of shipping protocol is messy, asking us to respond proactively to demands that are hard to articulate or even harder to fulfill. It's our responsibility to use the skills and benefit the broader community. And so this is what I was just saying. Like, they understand that they need to do something different because all these other protocols are promoting their protocols and Ethereum is not. Similar on Cardano, right? The Cardano Foundation, nobody really knows what the Cardano Foundation does. They just fight with the other, entities in Cardano, and nothing gets really accomplished. This is a problem. But again, in previous cycles, the foundations didn't want to be involved because of the regulatory uncertainty and because they didn't want it to look like they're pumping their own coin. But if they're not, they don't even have to talk about the price of the coin. They have to talk about the value of the ecosystem. And that seems to be what Ethereum here is doing. And so in my view, right, nothing has changed in the fundamentals of what the Ethereum network is trying to accomplish, what DeFi is going to do for the world, the transition that we are seeing into DeFi with banks even using it, banks talking about stable coins, interoperating with DeFi, the Trump administration, the Trump family talking about Ethereum and DeFi, Ethereum related products. Guys, the rotation is underway in my view. This is going to happen, whether it's now or at some point in the future. It will occur because that's how the market cycles work. We're not just going to have Ethereum and Solana and XRP standing in this position for the rest of the markets, right? We're going to see rotations, and the fact that we haven't seen massive rotations yet, and everything else that we covered today, potentially peaking in Bitcoin and people saying, no, Cryptoviser, we haven't peaked. And I just showed you, like, nobody's really buying the Bitcoin. Tether's just moving the Bitcoin from one of their wallets to now 21's wallet, which is technically still theirs because now they have shares of the company which are underlying the Bitcoin, and who knows what else is in those SEC documents about how this merger is taking place for them to become a Bitcoin treasury company. So we have to keep that in mind. Plus, MicroStrategy, they have now 3 different products for issuing debt to buy Bitcoin. And we don't know how this is going to play out. Everybody says, oh, no, there's no risk. Like, this is totally safe. Well, we're in an uptrending market. What happens if we go into a recession or a downtrending market, a bear market, which I think will eventually occur. But we have to pay attention to the macro factors and understand whether these are good investments or not. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you when I see you. Check out my other videos on the channel, and Crypto On.